Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Shooting Rabbits in a Barrel, a podcast brought to you by Scarecrow Consultants. I'm joined today by Oscar. Hi, Oscar.
Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
I am well. So I suppose we should explain how we know each other. Listeners, Oscar and I know each other because Oscar was, in fact, my husband's work husband for a while.
Work wife.
Work wife, whatever you want. Yeah, work wife, work husband. So we've had to overcome a lot of our infighting and vying for Will's time to, get together in the same room to record.
It's been so catty. It's been so catty, honestly.
Yes, you wouldn't believe the drama, but we put that aside because we're professionals. And you've been very gracious to join us on Shooting Rabbits. So you are not working in the same place as Will anymore.
No.
Neither as Will, to be honest. But so you are now working for your own company, or you're building your own company, Tangibl. Could you please tell us a little bit about that?
Of course, yeah. Okay, so my company Tangibl is it's an idea I've been hoping to explore for some time. I was working on it while me and Will were at Evolito, and it's basically, in essence, a portable battery-powered 3D printer, an FDM 3D printer. So for those listening who don't know, and I'm sure maybe it would have come up on this before, because Will, I know, is an avid 3D printer himself. He's got a couple that he uses around your house. So he tells
frequently.
me. So the technology is well known, is well founded, is well known. So I come from a startup sort of focused background. That's kind of where my career has always been. I currently work for another company as well, but my current company, Evolito, technically, and my company before that, they were all startups. So I'm used to that that's kind of where my roots are, and part of that definitely in the past 7 or 8 years has been the implementation of consumer 3D printing to sort of help really accelerate product development, physical hardware product development. So I've kind of fallen in love with it in that regard. Part of where the portability element comes from in terms of Tangibl is that I was running around one day because I'm a keen runner. Don't know if you can tell from how often I run away from my problems, but I was running around one day and I was like, wouldn't it be funny if I had a 3D printer strapped to my back and I ran a marathon and I put a print on that printer that would take 6 hours, and I would see if I could beat that print in the time it took me to run a marathon. And that was the idea that I sort of that sounds really funny and really fun, because as well as being a kind of wacky idea, that comes with a lot of interesting engineering challenges associated with it. How do you do that? Is it even possible? Would the print even work? How would it be powered? How would it deal with the continuous shock of you jumping up and down? So the whole idea sort of birthed from that, and I through my career have just been collecting debris from discarded printers and various bits and bobs. And so I got home from that run, opened up my closet full of crap, and saw I could probably build a printer out of the stuff that I've sort of accumulated. So while I was working at Evolito, I decided I'm just going to set this challenge for myself. It's I wanted to have something to do in my spare time, and I ended up building a 3D printer that was battery powered. I've actually got it here, but the background, maybe you won't be able to see it, but if I were to just hold it up here, no, the background is in fact Lego.
If you do that, if you do the hand, Instagrammers do hand behind it.
Hand behind it
when they show new makeup. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's why they do this brush and stuff.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, it maybe this is for the best, as to not spread it around. But if you do want to see it as part of this YouTube video, I'm sure you guys will be gracious enough to tag my YouTube channel and all of the there's lots of videos of it working. There's a great one of it working outside the Houses of Commons and printing some stuff with the Houses of Commons in the background. But yeah, so I mean, I built it, and then I sort of I with the help of some pretty smart people. Like I've got a couple of colleagues of mine from my previous job, not well, me and Will worked together, but my previous job, and working with me on the hardware, because obviously I'm a mechanical engineer. I don't know a huge amount about wiring and and building the software and firmware and all that kind of thing. And then so I had this idea, and I had this product. I built this thing, and I thought it was cool. Through encouragement, I just started showing it around. I was like, isn't this pretty fun? Through encouragement of my more entrepreneurial friends, let's say, I was encouraged to start a Kickstarter about it, and so that's where I kind of want to. That's what I want to talk about today. I know you haven't asked your 2 questions yet, but I feel like I've sort of gone off piece a little bit.
No, that is great. So also, as a side note, I've actually seen Oscar perform in a play. He's an actor in his spare time as well. So this is like, you can see the pros at work. Just that link, look, so professional. John should take some notes. No, John, I'll be in trouble for saying that. But okay, so all right. So listeners, just to remind you, thank you for that intro, Oscar.
No problem. Sorry, I went off a bit.
No, illegal. Sorry. Listeners, there's 2 questions we ask everybody on Shooting Rabbits. We ask, what story would you like to share with us today, and what valuable systems engineering lesson did you learn? Today's going to be slightly different because, Oscar, you're coming here. You're not a systems engineer. You're a mechanical / aspiring systems engineer. So you're going to tell us a story, and then you and I are going to muse on what the systems engineering lessons could be and pull them out together.
Yes, that sounds great. I'm coming to you as a total systems novice, as a use case, a cautionary tale, if you will. You know, excellent. that's I'm looking to provide you a case study to.
Oh no! Okay,
my copious amounts of mistakes.
Okay, we lost you for a.
The kind of rather questionable and mysterious variable that is marketing. I know that's not the sexiest thing when it comes to systems engineering. Certainly isn't the sexiest thing when it comes to mechanical engineering, and that was exactly where I went wrong. And so I had released a Kickstarter. The sort of too long didn't read of this entire thing was I released a Kickstarter. It kind of bombed because nobody saw it. Story, but I want to go into a bit of detail about it. So Kickstarter, I put a ton of work. I poured like a load of effort into getting the right branding. Like I worked with a friend of mine for like putting together a pitch deck, which then transferred over to being the main content that I use. Transparent with the amount of information you put on there. You've got to put together a financial plan for how you plan to use the pittance they're going to donate towards the campaign. You need to give them a very detailed list of like, well, you realistically should give them quite a financially transparent list of what exactly you're going to use that money for. And you know, the ask wasn't huge. It was something like £3,000, which for all the budding Kickstarter campaigners out there, Kickstarter takes 600 of those pounds, so which is just something to consider.
Huge chunk.
I know, yeah. I went in initially, I was like, I could probably develop, I was going to use the money to develop a version 2, just something that could be mass manufactured, but something that was a bit better and made less out of junk. you know, less out of stuff I'd found in my closet, less out of stuff that like I'd accumulated over the years. I budgeted that at about £2,000, but then I went on to Kickstarter. They have this nifty little budgeting tool, and they said like, yep, okay, so you're gonna have to add on an extra £700 to that because that's our cut. It's like, okay, all right, well, I might as well round it up to a 3,000 mark. I don't want to, you know, in case this model, let's say, and like exactly what I was going to do. One of the hardest parts about it was actually making what's called the pledges. So I don't know if like again, for the Kickstarter inexperienced, the pledges that you are the actual things that you would buy. So you go onto any Kickstarter, it might be showing for a board game, say, you would pledge £60 towards that board game, and in return you would get an early release version of that board game, and like a shout out on their page, or like maybe some merch, like some stickers or a jumper or something like that. Usually something tangible. There you go. But maybe ironically, and maybe this is the meaning of my impending failure, was that my company Tangibl did not offer any tangible rewards as pledges on my Kickstarter campaign, which is I've been told a rookie move. Like, and people were not too shy about telling me exactly how they felt about how rookie a move it was. Okay. You know, got to develop a thick skin.
Okay, so people want stuff. They want to put some money and they want to see something in their hand. Like
exactly.
Okay,
because that's all they're getting out of it, really. Like it's not like they're investors and they're getting equity. There are crowdsourcing platforms where that is the case, like Crowdcube or GoFundMe. I think sometimes as an equity sort of version, but for Kickstarter, it's just like you're getting something out of it, or you just believe in the project. And I think I was relying on the latter demographic, people who are just believing in it. And also, I mean, the pledges I was offering were like access to the 3D files, so and a complete bill of materials. So if they wanted to, they could print it themselves, because most of the parts were 3D printed. Most of the parts were made out of junk 3D printers, so it's like stuff that you can source, and the BOM was going to include exactly where you could get all that stuff from. So I thought between that and the other pledges, I could sort of go ahead. The other pledges were, I thought were pretty fun. They were like, you pay us and we will take the printer and go print anywhere you want, and we'll print anything you want, and we'll film ourselves doing it.
Oh, I think that's cool.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like it was like, you know, it can be anything you want. Like be creative. It can be like on the tube, and we can be printing you know, a telephone box, or it could be like, I don't know, it could be anything you want. It could be as nasty as you want as well, because it's like we'll send it to you directly, and with your permission we'll post it online. It could be, you know, you could literally print anything you want.
You know what, yeah, because okay, as a side note, like marketing people could show, I don't know, they're a space company and they're having something printed, and I mean, they wouldn't do that. It's not space hardware certified, but, or, you know, like print go to prom with me, like, I think that's so cool.
Exactly.
Anyway, sorry, I'm with you, Oscar. I think that was cool.
I think, I mean, that I think I offered 3 tiers to that, like at various stages of like, I wanted to restrict it so that only some people could print anywhere, only some people could print anything, only some people could print anywhere and everything, just to keep it kind of like, just to save myself a lot of work, you know. But I only ended up selling about 3 of those, and that was all of them were through family. So yeah, I mean, there was nothing tangible other than just like a service, we'll go and do this for you, or we'll provide some 3D files for you, like so I mean, I was kind of hoping that, based on the kind of appeal of the campaign and the wacky idea, that it might surface to the top and get the following that it kind of required. But I guess that's kind of what leads me onto the problem, and we can start phrasing it in a systems engineering problem way, which is the marketing aspect. Was just I just didn't know where to even start with that. It was the only thing I didn't plan for.
Mm.
And it's the thing that I totally, utterly just underexpected, I guess. Like I was completely sidelined by it. And I think just a little bit of research or a little bit of preamble, a little bit of work at the beginning or before releasing the Kickstarter campaign to develop a community around the project before the funding round was started was so key. And it's just something I just didn't even consider, because I thought the idea would sell itself. And I think therein probably lies the issue. You could have like a really cool idea, and I think I do have a pretty cool idea, considering like the amount of interest it's garnered when it has got interest has been pretty significant. And I mean, like a real kind of crescendo that I like to discuss when talking about this topic is about 8 days before the end of the campaign, the end of the funding round, I suddenly went up from like 10% funded to 33% funded. I was like, oh wow, that's amazing. It must have been that LinkedIn video that I posted literally the morning before, and it was a pretty cool LinkedIn video. Like we took the printer up to the Manchester Velodrome where Team GB practices, and we made something for a Team GB paracyclist like on the day. It was really awesome. Like, and I was like, that was a pretty cool thing. I was pretty proud of that achievement. I think the video was like really well cut together. But no, it wasn't because of that. I found out about a week after the campaign ended that a semi-famous YouTuber. That's not fair. He might see this. He's got 60,000 subscribers.
Oh, I mean, that's really good.
So, yeah, really good. I only mean semi-famous in that like the video he did about me garnered something like 1,000 views, which is still like incredible.
Let's not look at the number of views that Shooting Rabbits gets, but like.
We're not going to talk about it. No. But like, but this guy, the 3D printing professor, who wonderful man, really nice guy, like very wholesome content. He did an entire video, an entire 10-minute breakdown of my Kickstarter. He named it something like Kickstarter Bomb Alert was how he labeled it. And the thumbnail, and it was like, I think the thumbnail was of him like going like yawning at with like the image of my Kickstarter in the background. awful. But I was like, I don't want to watch this. He's gonna tear into me about how terrible he thinks the idea is. This is a guy who's like garnered a following from like reviewing 3D printing like ideas and products. But I watched it, and it was incredibly constructive. It was just like, and it effectively boiled down to, this guy has made a great product. He clearly knows what he's doing engineering wise, but he has no idea what he's doing marketing wise. This is bombing, and he's got no idea how to market this. So the point of his video was like, I'm reaching out to my community, his 60,000 subscriber community, and saying like, please, can you go support this poor flailing idiot?
This poor unfortunate soul who knows nothing about marketing.
Exactly. And so here I am thinking like, wow, I'm so amazing. I'm posting on LinkedIn. My like corporate content machine is really rolling. And it wasn't to do with me at all. It was actually all to do with this guy, like, and expanding one's audience. And I think that was the real lesson. The lesson was like, you need to be able to build a community first before you start asking the world for money. Because if you ask the world for money and your world consists of your 300 friends or connections on LinkedIn and your small amount of Instagram followers, then you're not going to achieve. There's only like 1% of the people who are going to be remotely interested in the technology itself. Some of them might send you a pity purchase every now and then, as family and friends do. But you've got to expand your network. And yeah, I think that was the kind of lesson that I learned from it. Very valuable, obviously, but the important thing is I've not let it deter me, and it still is going. We're still like I've since learned that maybe the way to do that I kind of wanted it to generate organically and like to generate interest and maybe generate like an underground following. But actually the idea behind it that I really care about is a lot more blue sky, and that might require a bit more like private investment. So I've decided like that's maybe more the avenue I want to pursue. And I've got some friends of mine who have worked at venture capital and or in that space who are now kind of working on the idea with me, and it's great to not be alone. Great to not be, you know. But yeah, so okay, let's break this down. What have I touched upon a systems engineering problem that we can extract from this, or
possibly? So I've been making notes as we're going. It's not like I've just been writing my shopping list, but I will say as well, I feel like I don't want this to turn into valuable lessons for business owners, but so much of what you're saying, me as I'm a crow, I'm a scarecrow. I bleed Scarecrow, but in all the other time that I don't have, I use like a Hermione Granger time turner. I also I'm running my own business, or was. I don't know how it works. Don't ask me. Like it's so hard when you start out, especially as an engineer going into the business space, to then I have to learn about finances. That's why I pulled a face when you said about the financial plan. I don't know. Today I had to send my accountant another list of dumb questions. Like, and then so all this stuff is so hard to do. And sometimes the only thing you can do is just learn the lessons and carry on. So kudos to you for your amazing like new business venture and putting yourself out there. I want to make this point first. Like, you're doing an amazing job. And what was it like? Well, Steve Jobs get rejected for a load of stuff before Apple. There's plenty of all these stories you hear. They're all linked in clickbait.
Yeah. They're all like inspirational stories. Yeah, this is just the first chapter of my future memoir, like called Failure. Right. You know, that's
yeah. It's like Michael Scott from The Office going like, "You have no idea how high I can fly."
Exactly.
All of these things. So we're going to see great things from Tangibl. It's going to be great. Okay, the things I pulled out, and it was before you even got onto what we were talking about being the problem, is that so I think maybe these are all interlinked. Okay, and because you and I were sat here both saying, oh, but that is so cool, but we're both engineers, so we do think that's cool. And when you're doing things like, you have to consider your bigger picture, classic systems engineering, you have to consider all your stakeholders, and the people that you needed to attract were not engineers. Like, they were people with money bags, which you know, engineering and money bags does not necessarily go hand in hand. So I think that's a massive thing, is about considering the different stakeholders that are going to be part of your project, of your system, of your whatever, because you can apply a systems approach to anything, including a business. So that was the first one I picked out, is that what are the needs of each of these stakeholders? Maybe it's somebody who's an investor, they're not an engineer, they don't have an engineering brain. What they're looking to see is the return on their investment. They're looking to see, where is this going to go? What's this, I want to say, a longevity, like what's the longevity of this business?
What's its potential?
Yeah, exactly. So they're looking at different things. They're like, okay, and I think that's really hard, both from a business perspective and a systems engineering perspective, to put yourself in the shoes of someone else. But it's so crucial, because if you this sounds like, you know, if you consider that from the beginning, you're never going to cover everything, but you might cover some of it. So that's what I would pick out first. And we see this a lot in the technical systems work that we do, is if we don't cover stakeholders at the beginning, we effectively have problems later on, because we haven't thought of something. Someone goes, oh, actually, I needed it to do this. I needed a space for my diagnostic. I needed it to be able to have this function, and it doesn't provide this. That was the first thing I pulled out.
Okay.
Agree? No, disagree? Yeah.
I think exactly, but also like not even having done the exercise of considering all the stakeholders, it was
oh no, we've lost him again.
But
oh wait, hang on, we missed you. With the last thing we heard was not even doing the exercise of considering all the stakeholders.
That was all I said. Yeah, it was probably the first error I said after. But also not having the wherewithal, I guess, or like it didn't even like cross my mind that was and that I think maybe there's something to be said about you know, maybe the individual versus the committee, where like the need for both at some point. And I think I assumed that I could go down this route entirely on my own without any help. But actually there's everybody's got blind spots, right? And you need to have kind of people to fill that out.
For sure. That actually segues beautifully into the next thing that I picked out. So this is not, I think, okay, in systems engineering, we're always encouraging people they have to be really solution agnostic when they start out with their definition. So they're not thinking of how they're achieving the solution to the problem in terms of like the nuts and bolts, and exactly, they're thinking about the functions, they're thinking abstractly. I think sometimes we can then get that confused with that we shouldn't consult any experienced people or subject matter experts when we're starting out. And I think that's a massive problem, because then you're basically reinventing the wheel. Also, you are allowed to ask for help. Complex systems are hard and you're allowed to ask for help. So in trying to, I think sometimes, occasionally, not all the time, it can get confused with, I have to use a completely top-down approach, I have to be completely solution agnostic, therefore I cannot use any prior experience of anybody's, because that would be leading towards a solution. And it's not like, so it was more really about more relating to your point, is that involving subject matter experts, so like a marketing person, me, I have to always ask people about financial stuff. And I also met somebody in a networking event who does social media things, talking about LinkedIn. I hate LinkedIn, but she's showed me a few things that, like, you know, like you can use it, but if you really want to get results, you do kind of have to know like this, and this is all about the seeking experience, seeking expertise, which is totally allowed in systems engineering. But I think people at the beginning get a bit worried that it feels too design like, and so they couldn't possibly do that because we're just in definition. But actually it's kind of a balance of everything. Like, yes, you're taking on their advice, but you're not going away and designing exactly what they designed in a previous thing.
Is there a kind of element of that as well, which is kind of undervaluing certain elements that like, so for instance, like I think there's a particular, maybe let's call it like an engineering arrogance, which is like to say that marketing's easy, or like or like social media, that'll just sort itself out, and these are complex, nuanced topics, right? And I think there's a certain, like, to view it as like a systems engineering problem, it's like you've assigned the wrong weight to that category at the very beginning, and it's like, actually that was a lot that was a lot more significant than you originally thought. It's like, obviously all the technical stuff is like, it's got to take precedent, but none of this stuff, like I can be like, I can do that after.
And actually this bang on that is, when I worked in the fusion industry, people would do that with maintenance. People would go, oh, but we're doing fusion, we're achieving like limitless power on Earth. Oh, someone will just maintain it after. No, you have to consider maintenance from the very beginning of your thing. So it's exactly that applied to, cause, I mean, people go to uni and do degrees in marketing and communications, and there's a psychology behind it and all this, and it's exactly as you say, like it's not, we think it's easy, and it's with the engineering arrogance, if we may.
There's a larger like societal take there, isn't there? Like, actually we're kind of maybe taught to be that arrogant by media and just growing up in the Western world. I don't know, like, we could, that's a much larger topic. This is getting
philosophical. It is. It's about how we value skills and what value, and the weight we put on valuing and paying people and compensating them for their knowledge.
Exactly.
This is turning into almost like a bit of an agony aunt session, like, here, bring your problems. But what do you, like, have you got any final thoughts on now that we've looked at some of the potential systems engineering lessons that could come out of that?
No, I think just ultimately, I think the important part of it is that ultimately I'm just really, really glad that I gave it a go. You know, like like none of this has been unhelpful to me. Like, and I'm in a very privileged position where, like, it's not, I don't need to, like, this isn't my like primary job, but for a couple months in between Evolito and my current job, it kind of was, and I was devoting my entire like life to it. But like, and I'm really really glad that I gave it a go and that I learned all this stuff, because all that stuff is incredibly useful. And I think maybe the key takeaway is that you don't improve unless you try and fail.
Yeah.
If you were to boil it down.
Profound. What a nice place to end on that. Oscar, thank you so much for sharing your story. And
no problem. Thank you so much for having me on the pod. You know,
on the pod. You said the pod as well. Oh my god, I'm trying to make this stick. Like, welcome to the pod. Like
the scare pod. No?
That sounds like a Monsters Inc. thing.
It does. Yeah. I think that is actually what they call the little scare pod things in Monsters Inc. Yeah, maybe not. We'll work on it.
Gosh, a collaboration. This is what the things going through my mind. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being honest about where things have been challenging and where you've been learning lessons in your business journey. I'm very excited to see where you go next. I hope our listeners are too. We will share the links to things. I want to see this video. To be honest, I think actually I have seen this video of you printing in front of the Houses of Parliament. I think it was put in front of my face by aforementioned our joint husband. Like, so, yeah. So, but I'm going to go back and watch it now. I understand the context behind it. Thank you so much. So, listeners, no problem. But listeners, if you've enjoyed this and you would also like to come and be interviewed and share your stories, either give your own systems engineering lessons or figure them out together, you can reach us at rabbits@scarecrowconsultants.co.uk, and we'll say goodbye to Oscar and we'll see you again next time. Thank you so much.
See you guys.